And then some decisions are just plain flat out. Like if you think about it, right? Let's say let's say you won $1 million. If you won $1 million, guess how many dumb decisions you're gonna think of to do with that $1 million. See, when you don't have the $1 million, you're probably not even thinking of some of those decisions. Once you get the $1 million, there's so many things that's gonna come your way. Or let's say 5 million. By the time you know it, you're gonna be thinking of things that you never thought about to do with the money. You never thought of it. You're almost trying to find ways to kind of screw it up. All right, what's going on, y'all? All right, and welcome to Feds World Mobcast. Once again, we back at it again. The mob, you know how we do it. Definitely a good day today. Definitely a good day today. All right, so what my title is? I think the title is going to be pretty much your decision making, and how many when it comes to decisions and some of the decisions you make and some of the things that you do on a day to day, or maybe from week to week, month to month, year to year. I just want to discuss kind of the impact of all those decisions and how you should kind of look at all of those decisions at times, And the reason I want to bring it up is, okay, so for instance, and I'm going to get straight to the point today, and I hope everyone's having a great day out there. Hope everyone's productive. Hope everyone's joining the mob squad right now. This the mobcast. This ain't that other thing. We're not going to talk about that. Whatever other stuff other people are doing, we talking about what we doing over here, and it's the mobcast. So Feds World Mobcast, y'all know y'all can catch me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X is what they call it now, formerly known as Twitter. But y'all can catch me on all those platforms, Snap, all that. So y'all go ahead, follow me there. You guys know what to do. I could definitely appreciate it. Hey, watch the content, and then judge it off that, and then like, subscribe, do whatever you guys want to do at that point. But we all know what the channel's about. All about self-improvement, having different ideals and ways of looking at things, and just trying to really, we all helping each other navigate through life, to do the best, for ourselves and for our families, right? So, that's kind of a good segue into, decision making and how hard it is. I don't think people realize how hard it is to come up with what I would call like good ideas, you know what I mean? Or anything that's super impactful, whether it's business or in your personal life, or in, whether you're dealing with family or, associates and stuff of that nature. It's like sometimes it could be a couple ideas a year that like really change the trajectory of your life, or really makes that year, or really makes those 2 years or 3 years, And I'm saying that to say that I think you take almost like decision making for granted, because you literally have to avoid doing put it like this. It's easier to do something foolish, something not so smart, than it is to actually come up with a bunch of smart things to do consecutively. So you almost have to look at life and say, okay, how do I avoid some of the foolishness? Like, some things that we could deem as like stupid, like it's just dumb, just not smart at all. Dumb decisions. And we all fall into those pitfalls. Like, we all run into that. Man, I don't know what's going on with me. Getting the mic all drenched and stuff. Hopefully not. But we all fall into those pitfalls And the question becomes, how do we eliminate some of those pitfalls, right? Some of those areas where we're in and, we decide to make these decisions that are just like, they're bonehead decisions. But some of the smarter decisions that you can make, they're few and far between. Like, you're not going to always make smart decisions. You probably, if you're lucky, you get one or two super smart decisions a year that really like are impactful, because it's hard to just say. It's like when they say like it's easier to get in trouble than it is to kind of like stay out of trouble, right? Because all the stuff to get in trouble are the easiest things to access, right? Just even if you're trying to lose weight, it's easier to gain weight. It's easier to eat whatever you want to eat. But to lose the weight, it comes with way more effort. You got to eat right. The food's more expensive. So anytime you're trying to do something like right or something better or something, so it always comes with something. Like, it's always a bit more difficult. It's more challenging. So when you're making decisions out there, just know that it's way easier to make the wrong decisions. Those are just easier decisions. They come sometimes with no effort. They come to be easier. So you tend to, I think human nature makes you kind of like lean towards it, and then you're doing it. And it's not as easy as one would think to be like, yeah, you could just make a whole bunch of smart decisions a year. I mean, for some of my decision making, I'm like, yo, that wasn't really the move. I could have did it way easier or way better. Sometimes you look at certain things like that, but there is the side too where you could say that because you made those decisions, you learned, right? Because I mean, life doesn't come without some failure, right? So you could learn. But I think it's always important to, if you could learn from somebody else's failure, go ahead and learn that too. So you don't go ahead and make some of those pitfalls. You could, there's ways to create shortcuts for yourself. So for me, it's all a matter of, number one, when I notice someone has done something that didn't work, or it was a bad move, I look at it as a learning lesson, and not saying that I'm happy that it happened to them, but if you could learn from it, then you want to take that so you could avoid it. Because it's a matter of just collecting the data and then saying, okay, I'm going to avoid those pitfalls. I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to look at somebody who did something incorrectly and it just wrecked them out and then go do the same thing. That's almost insanity. And then too, you don't want to repeat something you've already done, thinking, well, maybe let me flip it in this way though and repeat it. No, it's a bad idea, right? So it's always important, in my opinion, to look at things from a standpoint of, okay, I'll look at that, but really look at those decisions, because sometimes some people, man, they made one or two decisions that year and it just whole year is just gone. One a couple, but then they just snowball into other ones too, and they don't stop. It don't take too long to make a wrong financial decision that wrecks you out, wrecks your business out, causes future problems, and it just becomes a snowball, right? Because the mark of it's the mark of something that's going great is, certain things shouldn't be that hard, right? Like, sometimes it's, you could be with somebody and y'all just make consecutively just really good decisions. Every once in a while you make some bad ones, really good decisions. Then you could be with somebody and every decision's it's a nightmare. It's like, man, so something's up right there. But the question is, how is it happening? And then how can we stop making bad decisions? Maybe start making better decisions. It's all a matter of taking the data, your data points, and when you see you're making all of these like incorrect decisions, you want to assess the situation and always look at it and say, okay, how could I make some adjustments? So what I like to do is I go into decision making slowly, depending on what it is. Some things you can, some, because sometimes doing something too slow isn't really good. But most of the time, if you really don't rush into it and don't be so spontaneous, you could end up making yourself start making better decisions. Like I'd like to so basically, okay, if I got a big decision I have to make, it's not gonna come up out of nowhere. I probably researched it for 3 months, 6 months, a year before I went and executed it, right? Some people will say, okay, that's just too long. Maybe it is, but it depends on how you're orienting or like creating your goals. I'm creating my goals a year, 2, 3 years out. You know, because sometimes I'm creating 5 year goals. Sometimes I'm creating 2, 3 year goals. So I'm already planning ahead, but I'm also trying to avoid as many or minimize or, as many mistakes as I can when I'm trying to go for those goals. And then some decisions are just plain flat out. Like if you think about it, right? Let's say let's say you won $1 million. If you won $1 million, guess how many dumb decisions you're gonna think of to do with that $1 million. See, when you don't have the $1 million, you're probably not even thinking of some of those decisions. Once you get the $1 million, there's so many things that's gonna come your way. Or let's say 5 million. By the time you know it, you're gonna be thinking of things that you never thought about to do with the money. You never thought of it. You're almost trying to find ways to kind of screw it up indirectly. Like you're not even thinking of it. All of a sudden now you want to open up a restaurant. You don't know nothing about no restaurant business, but probably somebody came up to you and say, "Hey, let's open up a restaurant business." Now you're opening up a restaurant business. You want to open up a food truck, a catering service. You're thinking some people just blow the money. They're just spending it like crazy. They're giving it away, doing all these things. But you think it's like once you have a certain amount of money, you start thinking of just there's a bunch of there's so many ways to mess the money up and just so little ways to actually keep the money. And that's the thing, because as soon as you hop out the door, everyone wants money from you. It doesn't matter which spot you go to, right? If I hop out the door right now, I'm Chipotle, Walmart, gas stations everywhere, with snacks and treats in them. And it doesn't matter where I go. We live in a capitalistic country. Everybody wants the dollar, right? Everybody. So there's so much temptations all around you, and we're not even including family, friends, or anything else that may come up, problems and stuff like that. So when you look at it, no matter where you go at every turn, there's always a dollar to spend. So there's a million, there's a 2 million, there's an infinite almost amount of ways to spend money. But there's only a few ways to really keep the money, right? It's not that many ways. It's like put it in the bank, put in some stocks, index funds, put in your savings, invest it in a business, and that's a risk. You see what I mean? It's just so many ways that you could mess up money than keep money, and it goes for everything. So with decision making, it's like you almost have to go into it thinking slowly, as opposed to, oh, I'm about to be doing this and go crazy, and and not thinking like these decisions, they're just big decisions. And that goes for everything. It could be a relationship, it could be a marriage, it could be, those are more personal, but then, it could be going into a business. And then when you get into business now, the decisions within the business are just a totally different ball game too. So you're not going to think, trust me, you're not going to come up with that many genius ideas in a year. It's not going to be that many. You might get one if you're lucky for that year, where it's like, whoa, this was a really, really good idea. But the amount of just crazy decisions you could think of that just don't amount to anything, it's just too many of them. It's too many ways to get in trouble. It's too many ways to to lose something. It's too many ways to get into some trouble, get into some trouble financially, or it's just an infinite amount of ways. It feels like it. Because like I said, if you want to do something great for yourself, it always comes with it's not the easier process. You want to get some muscles, you're gonna have to hit that gym consistently too. It's not like you could just go a couple days and all of a sudden. Now I got a little body type. If I go in there, I might turn a couple heads in a week. Right now, I got a little body type. It could work for me right now, but it's not really the most effective way. It's not gonna do it for you like you think. So it's always important to look at certain things and be like, okay, is this really the best decision? Is this like you go into a place? Is this an impulse buy? Right? Am I gonna regret this? Am I gonna regret that buy? Buyer's remorse almost. Do I need this car right now? Do I need this extra bill added? Do I need to refinance my home? Do I need to refinance the car? Do I need to open up this business without understanding it? Is did I open up? Is the overhead too high? If I bought this location here, right? If I go into this location rent out, is overhead too high? Am I thinking this all the way through? Am I handling my business before I hit that open sign? You know what I mean? Like, because these decisions, they're the trajectory is like life. It could be life changing for you, right? So let's say when I opened up a business and it was called Fetronics, right? And I opened it up and I opened it up and I was actually purchasing a property at that time too. So I did that, purchased the property, and I opened up Fetronics. So great, right? Very happy about it. And what I did there was I sold electronics. I sold electronics, any type of electronical devices. We repaired electronical devices, all types, micro soldering. It's just all these things, all these different facets. And we sold things to protect your electronical device, so all that, right? So really, really good. Very happy about it. And it was called Fetronics, and thought it was great, right? And I did my research. I did actually market research before I opened it. But here's what I missed. So because I was repairing I didn't think of the foot traffic. I didn't put that. I did not think of foot traffic being important to me, right? But foot traffic was a major part of the equation. I just did not have it in there because I did not know any better, right? Not including the time frame that I chose to open the electronic business wasn't that great because there was a time frame where, you know, repairing your phone and you break a phone, a glass or whatever would have been in high demand. Maybe if I would have opened it 5 to 10 years earlier, right? It would have been perfect timing for me. I would have had a good window, a good wave to kind of grow and build the business. Because of those little things that I did not account for, and I was pivoting, don't get me wrong. And I actually, Fetronics was not a failure for me at all. It was actually a very good number one. I felt like I did well. I grew the company every year for the 3 4 years that I ran it. Grew the company every year, did really well, but the trajectory of that type of business wasn't going the way that I wanted it to go. Right? It wasn't, when you have these different brands, they're trying to minimize anybody touching their phone. So that was one aspect of it, and I didn't. Obviously, you're not going to see that coming, and I didn't see, the fact that hold up, man, I went and got this place, and I wanted the place to look very nice. I took on the overhead, but I did not factor in the foot traffic. And not saying that you couldn't market it, but as a new business, you're gonna have to increase your marketing spend in order to kind of, get to where you need to get to, right? So those were little things and little pitfalls that I did not technically account for, and I probably could have used social media a lot more too. And I was using it, I just wasn't using it to its full capacity. Right. So those little things right there, you can't really account for because I just didn't really think of those things. No, at that time. And then trust me, the business went very well. By the time I did not, I wouldn't even say I wrecked out. I did not end up in debt or had anything that catastrophically happened to me because the way I set it up, I wasn't taking out heavy loans. I didn't do anything that was really disastrous to myself. So I would say I played it safe and I was still aggressive at the same time. So it was actually very good. I'm not mad about it at all. But what I'm saying is there's certain things you can't really see that's coming or that's there unless you're actually paying attention, right? Unless you are actually looking at things and growing it at the same time. And another thing I didn't really calculate was the fact that I still kept my 9 to 5 job while I was operating Petron. So I think that was a major factor too because you always want to be at your place of business, right? So I think that was a major factor too. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about opening up the store, opening up the shop. And I was very proud of it. Don't get me wrong, extremely proud of it. That's all I was thinking about though. Opening it up and getting to it. But I felt like I could do both. I felt superhuman. That's why I did that, purchased, and I was purchasing the condo all at the same time. And I mean, I stressed myself out, right? I added extra stress to myself, but I still accomplished the goal, but it always comes at a cost, you know? So certain things I didn't even see, I couldn't foresee coming because while I was doing that, I was messing around with my bank account to go ahead and purchase a condo and also fund Fedtronics. So bad timing, right? So the underwriters were, they were up my alleyway about that. And luckily everything went, like I said, everything went well. But once again, it's so easy to mess up in those instances. It's so easy to do too much, right? So I would most certainly not say don't open up your own business or don't look at doing different things in your life, whether personal or business. It's just a matter of how you do it and how you look at things too, because sometimes what you're looking at seems very easy and plausible, but at the end of the day, it may not be. You could almost be doing 3 or 4 different mistakes all at one time and you don't even know it. Right? So it's really hard to come up with like great ideas. One of the best ideas I would say for Fetrons is when I decided to invest in the micro soldering, which did give the business a boost too, and then obviously was going and we had the website rolling and stuff like that. So all of these things did give the business a good boost. But you're not it's hard to calculate everything else that could go wrong, right? Because you just don't know. Like I could start like the Airbnb business. Mm-hmm. You start it up, everything's all good. Next thing you know, the cities want, every city now wants a different criteria for you to run an Airbnb business. But if you started off early on, you might have got caught in that transition where you didn't even know it. So now you could get into a city that's a little bit more lenient, or maybe you have to pivot a little bit, right? Because you're trying to run your Airbnbs and stuff like that, or you don't, or you get caught up with the high demand, thinking that it's going to last for too long. I mean, it's just too many ways, like I said, for things to go wrong as opposed to right. So you almost have to take your time when making decisions because it's important, because you're not going to, as smart as we all think we are, and we all got the best ideas and all this other stuff. You need to, if I were you, I would look up and say, man, how many ideas did I come up with within the last 5 years that I would say were so impactful? They were super great, and you know what I mean? Like they were the genius. I'm talking about really good ideas now. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about, and any idea that's on the positive is good, but I'm talking about really great ideas that got you, whether they got you super paid, or it made your life super easy, or you avoided the pitfalls of this because you did that. Like, how many of those you think you came up with in the last 5 years? And I guarantee you probably look at it and be like, it's not that many. It's like, did I? Not that many. Or did I do that? I shouldn't have did that. Maybe I did that. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe maybe the younger crowd might say, you might say the younger crowd might say, yeah, I did that. But the older crowd might be, we're a little bit more wise, right? You might have you might have made some really good decisions because you're older, and you know better. But I do think, when you're the young you are, it can be very tough. So the purpose of the mobcast, the mob is, hey, look, take your time, make decisions that benefit you in a way, and always weigh the pros and cons, and always take your time. And just know that, trust me, it's better to almost avoid the dumb decisions. It's almost better to avoid it. Try to avoid it as opposed to trying to make the smartest decision you could possibly make. Which, like I said, it does not come as fast as people think. It just doesn't. You're not gonna get you're not gonna get a bunch of it. Sounds good. Sounds great. And I would love to. Every idea I think of is genius level, but you're not gonna always get that, and it's okay. It's okay if you don't get it. It's okay if it doesn't. It doesn't happen in the time frame that you want it to happen. In my opinion, so it's all good. But I hope y'all got the message loud and clear. Hey, leave some comments below. What do y'all think of what I just said? I mean, you agree, disagree? What do you think? You think, am I tripping? I'm just, it's from my perspective, it's kind of what I've seen. But, could you game every time? Could you be gaming every time? Could you be gaming every time? Maybe. But the likelihood is you're not going to be gaming. You're not, being G is tough. Being straight. Sometimes you're just doing debt decisions that don't make no sense. And excuse me for the, the Lakes lingo. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. But we definitely leave some comments below. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if you did you run into any of these type of decisions, and sometimes you're like, man, I'm either making too many bad decisions, or or do you find decision making really easy? Do you do your research before you do anything? What's your approach? So I'd love to hear it. And also, go ahead. Y'all know where y'all could catch me at as well. So we'll have that discussion. Like, hit that subscribe button for me. I'm very fortunate. Anybody who's watching, I'm very appreciative. Very, very appreciative. I know I started this, I'm a new channel in a way. I did start maybe a year or two ago, but I wasn't really consistent. So I am a new channel. So I do appreciate if it's two of you watching right now, thank you. Thank you very much. And just spread it as much as you can if you enjoy the content. Leave me some comments. Hey, it is what it is, So definitely happy about that, and I'm happy I could, come in here, vent, spread my message, to everyone, or the way my ideals, the way I think, and I get to express myself with you fine people, the ladies out there, the gentlemen out there. Really appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. This the Mobcast, man. The mob, and we out, and we'll catch y'all on another one. All right, y'all be straight.